Do.
Which means
Make up with Stephanie! And
well-
Roy is taking over.
okay. What's that one? I might have got this one recently.
You know what? You haven't gotten this one in a
I
while.
haven't gotten that one. Wow. Shows you how much I know.
Yeah. Sorry. This one is that Stella one. It's an all-day lip color lipstick. So, let me teach you about stains, Roy. You put this on.
Oh, I'm an expert on stains.
Yeah, you are. And then you're supposed to take it off, but I don't have anything but your shirt. And we're not going to do that. You know what? This one's old. I think it's dried out. You know what that means?
Yes.
Instead of 19, I'm down to 18. Crap. But it's a good color. I don't know what color it is, but it's a good color. It's a good fall color.
Well, we've just passed into fall, September
it again.
22nd. See if I can turn the feedback down in my headphones.
I'll go back and add to Facebook description later. I don't want to type it all. I don't want to talk about it. Anyways, National Days. Because I can't say what this day is. Today's National Black Dog Day.
Wow, I had a Newfoundland. Do you know what a Newfoundland dog looks like?
No.
No, they're
It's
all
black?
black. But they're about the size and look of a Saint Bernard, but they're all black.
Mm-hmm.
And they were pulling like the sleds and stuff in Newfoundland, the country is where they are, and they're about the size and they look pretty close to Saint Bernard, but they're all black. Great
Saint Bernards
dog.
are the big ones on like Beethoven, right?
Named him after the famous racing engine Offenhauser.
How long did he live for?
Quite a bit. We got him. He was like about 5 or 6 when we got him, and I think he lived till about 14, 15, which is unusual for big dogs. Usually about 10 years on big dogs. I think my St. Bernard, I had a St. Bernard, he went about 11 or 12. Yeah, he lived a long time. Or he lived pretty old for a big dog because they don't last. Smaller dogs will go like 15 to 20. But big dogs like 10 to 12 is usually their kind of range.
Right.
So he lived a long life. He's a great dog.
Was he? I want one.
So was my Saint Bernard.
I want to get a lab or a Dalmatian. I really want to get a Dalmatian. Get off my mouse. All right, we're going to go on Facebook before I ruin anything else. Man, this day just does not like me. Oh, and happy 1st of October. Or is today the 2nd?
This is a record. You stuck to the one National Day rule.
On those days. Crap, we did, huh?
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 on IE Newswire, both on Facebook and
YouTube! Make sure you go and hit that like and subscribe button so that way we get all your views.
We're coming to you on a...
I don't know. Thirsty Thursday, I think we went with. Everything's going wrong.
No, actually, you did some right. You stick to one National Day on the YouTube segment.
That's not a good sign. That is not a good sign. It's also National Hair Day, too. Just in case.
Yeah, it don't
So love
count.
your hair.
It doesn't count when you're on Facebook.
I know. It
You
doesn't.
followed the rules on YouTube.
No, but now I felt like breaking them. I feel like being a rebel.
Well, you unrebelled yourself on that. Go check us out on those first few segments on YouTube. They're, like I
They're
said.
a delight.
Yes, they're...
You can watch me mess up everything. I know, everything fell. My title went away. You know, does anyone pay attention to the title, though? Write in on Facebook if you pay attention to the title. I'm just curious, because I got to go back and retype it all. Dang it. But I got my mic on today, so that's a good start.
Well, we'll see if that can go for a whole show.
I doubt it. Whatever.
Of that, at least...
Don't judge me.
At least we're being honest about it.
We are. A little bit.
Lots of stuff going on that. California is just a hot mess. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. You got the diva up there, Governor Hairgel.
Did you just call him a diva?
Yes. Well, isn't he?
I don't know. It's kind of an insult to divas in the world, but that's just my opinion.
Of that, well, isn't he?
I mean, he's not really like a diva. Maybe a little bit. I mean, I think of Coco, my dog, a diva. Him, he's just an a-hole. Oh my gosh. Shut me up.
Isn't that what most people consider? Aren't most divas, and let's get honest with it, aren't most divas considered a-holes?
I mean, no, I don't really. Bring me back. I don't really think so. Are they? I don't
Chime in on the comments section. Do you think diva is code word for somebody who's an a-hole or a bitch or whatever, kind of like that?
I know. I don't. I wouldn't see him as a diva. He's not good enough to be a diva. I think there's standards to be a diva.
He doesn't rise. Well, I'll give you that. He doesn't rise to the standards of a diva on that. Two things. It was breaking late last night while we were on the show. The first one, we'll give you that if we can find it here first. Of what's going on.
Hospitalizations are at 746.
You know, these things that, yeah, it's starting today already on that. Of that, well, I'm trying to find the, this is what broke yesterday. Pull up number 4, please. California Task Force will consider paying reparations for slavery. California has yet to come to terms with their role in the deal. Oh, we didn't do number 6 on the deal here. Hang on a second. Well, we hopefully that will. There you go. Now we got it.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right.
Hit number 4 now. California Task Force will consider paying reparations for slavery. California has yet to come to terms with its role in slavery, said Assemblywoman Shirley Weber, a Democrat. This by Louis Cassiano of Fox News. California Governor, is he a diva or not, Gavin Newsom, signed into law a bill Wednesday that will establish a task force to study and develop proposals for paying reparations to descendants of enslaved black people. Let's stop right there. How many black slaves are in the United States right now?
I would say 0.
Yes. And there has been no, that I can tell, and I did a little bit of research, since California became a state in 1850, there has been zero amount of slave owners, or anything close to that ever in the once golden state of California. Further reading, so just in the context, because Shirley Weber is the one who said, I think is the one that sponsored this bill. Assembly Bill 3121 calls for a 9-member body to make recommendations on what type of compensation, if any, should be awarded and who is eligible. In addition, the group can recommend to the state legislature how California can offer a formal apology for all the perpetration of gross human rights violations and crimes against humanity on African slaves and their descendants, and the elimination of state laws that disproportionately impact black people. California has come to terms on many of its issues, but yet to come to terms with its role in slavery, said California Assemblywoman Shirley Weber, a Democrat who authored the bill, which I thought we're talking really about addressing issues of justice and fairness in this country we have to address. My question to Assembly member who is obviously a nutcase, Shirley Weber, what evidence was there any slavery in California ever?
See, I think it would be really cool, or not cool, but I think that'd be great for people that might have been a slave to get that. I think that
which
I
is
could see that.
0. Yeah, we eliminated
I know, but I'm just
that
saying.
in
I think
1860,
exactly.
whatever.
That's my point. Is if you were once a slave, or not even, I wouldn't even go like family member, but at some point, are they cutting off the family chain? I mean, anybody can say, oh, back in my great 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 grandmother was a slave, so I want money.
Actually, we did, and I mean, we did pay some of the Japanese Americans that were in camp, and put in internment camps and during World War II unjustly because Japan attacked us and we kind of overreacted to that and just like quarantined everyone who was Japanese, if you were a citizen or not, and we did repay that, but that were not slaves. That was a totally different. That and some of the families that were of that or that were because at that time when they did that there were still people alive that were in those internment camps. One of them I knew was Jimmy Maeda, which owned a lot of race cars over the years, and from here, well, in Harupa Valley, from your neck.
Speaking of Harupa Valley, I just got word that Susan from Harupa Valley is joining us tonight and actually listening. So everyone give Susan from Harupa Valley a huge shout out.
Yes,
Yay!
big shout out to
Welcome
Susan.
back, Mom.
Yes, your mom's back on the list of people who are watching us on this fine program on that. See how that all works out?
It did. That worked out good. High
See?
five in air. Shh, don't touch me.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
And it's been going on. It's been going on in Congress and anything else. I mean, it's a stupid concept. It has no relevance. Like you say, what has it been? It's been almost 150 years since we eliminated slavery in the United States.
But let me ask you this, though, not to cut you off and totally throw you for a loop. Don't Indians still get money for land or something like that?
They do have their own sovereign nations, obviously, where the gambling casinos
Right.
are and stuff like that.
But they don't get money for that, do they?
I think there still is some federal payments they paid that they do give to some of the Indian tribes on that. But again, that was a clear.
But I feel like that was created so long ago, and to bring this up and to start something like this, I feel like
yes, there is no
why
there's no documented cases ever in the state of California.
like I really want to
this.
hear why they think that this. I want to hear how this affects others that might be getting the money. I want to hear why they feel like that is doing some type of justice to them and slavery.
There's nobody here living on the planet Earth now in the United States of America that was a citizen or what that suffered slavery from the United States of America. It just isn't there. And this went back many generations of that. And again, California never, that I can find, ever had this kind of problem, even when we became a state, which was when slavery was legal. In 1850, there for 20 or so years. So it should be a moot point. It's not, but on top of that, they double down on it today with the most incredible, if you think that wasn't stupid enough, of what was going on.
But do they say how much money?
No, this is just nobody's and what? Yeah, I'd like to know what the dollar amount or what.
But then it's like, to me, that's an insult. So you're gonna pay them because they were once a long time ago a slave.
I mean, yeah,
to me that's insulting.
So yeah, what if you're
for an African American? That would be like a slap in the face.
Yeah, what if you're great?
When are you gonna move past that? We've already. I mean, come on.
Exactly. The time for that. And again, whatever has happened from 150 plus years ago has already went through the system. We've corrected any wrongs that were in that. The whole Antifa fascism, we'll get into that in a little bit with Joe Biden and that, maybe when Susan Shelley comes on at the bottom of the hour. But as I said, if that wasn't stupid enough, this is what the diva governor, hair gel, came up with today. And this broke about 1 o'clock in the LA Times. California adds a COVID-19 equity requirement. It could trip up counties' reopenings. This is by Mara Dolan in the Los Angeles Times. California's bigger counties will not be permitted to reopen their economies further unless they reduce coronavirus infections in the hardest places where poor black people, Latinos, and Pacific Islanders live. Under the new state requirement for reopening during the pandemic, counties with more than 106,000 residents must bring infections down in these places and invest heavily there in testing, contract tracing, outreach, and providing means for infected people to isolate. Los Angeles is one of the counties sure to be affected, along with others. Guess what? Riverside County, San Bernardino County, Orange, and San Diego, and Imperial, and every Ventura, and every other, probably every other county. There's only a handful, maybe 2 or 3, that have less than 100,000 and 106,000 of that, along with others in Southern California. The measure is designed to ensure test positivity rates in the most disadvantaged neighborhoods do not significantly exceed the county's overall rate. A disparity that has been widespread during the pandemic. Now let's just take Riverside County on it first. At first, white people were actually, as they classify them, which is stupid to begin with, were of a higher percentage of that than Latinos were based on population and everything else, and that kind of turned around. Blacks were a little higher on that. So, and we're trying to turn racial inequality or quotas. This is a quota on coronavirus. So let's take LA County is almost 10 million, over 10 million people. Would be the 10th or 11th largest state in the United States if it were a state on its own. Big, vast population, a lot of land area. Probably not as much land area, though, as Riverside or San Bernardino County. But I think San Bernardino County might be the largest land mass of the county in the United States. But if it's not, it's up in the top 2 or 3. But long ways. I mean, you got to the south. You got South Central LA down there in Torrance and Watts. You got downtown Los Angeles, Hollywood. You got the Valley, San Fernando Valley, and then you got the high desert area of Lancaster, Palmdale, and that. 10 million people, some of them very dense population, some of them spread out. Like you get out to Palmdale and the Tules, there's a house every 2 or 3 miles. I don't think they got a big coronavirus problem. And this is what cities like Palmdale have said. We basically have no coronavirus problem, almost nothing. Why can't we open up? Because Newsom says the whole county's locked down and cannot open up because you're in the purple zone or red zone. Mind you, there's no green zone of that. So if you Palmdale, you meet the requirements like times 10 under the Diva Hair Gel's requirements, you still can't open because they're claiming there's a racial injustice or discrimination. Coronavirus can discriminate now.
And it knows ages.
Yeah, it knows ages.
If you're in above a 2nd grade, you cannot go back to school.
There you go.
They're grading up.
Yeah, this coronavirus is a very smart virus. I mean, probably the most intelligent.
It's probably smarter than you.
Probably.
Oh, no.
This coronavirus is very intelligent. It can go around and just pick out, your skin tone's a little darker than the rest. It's called genetics. Some people are predisposed to getting infections of that. I don't know what it is. There's some diseases that certain populations just don't get, where other populations are susceptible to many of them. That's just how the world works. It's Mother Nature. You're not changing it. And if those areas have a problem, why don't you go figure that out? Why are you penalizing areas that have basically no problem, have not had a problem, probably never will have a problem based on their geography, the way they're doing things and everything else? And this is absolutely crazy. We are going to put quotas now on coronavirus. If a certain population, what if like in Riverside County, where the white population at the beginning was in disproportionate amounts as their classification was over their population on that? Why weren't we having quotas then? that you couldn't open up the disadvantaged or black or Latino areas because, it's spreading too much in the white community over here.
I'm back. I don't know. The world's gone insane. It makes no sense. I'm moving to Mars. Maybe Jupiter. I think they did find life up there. Or they thought they did. You want to go with me?
Might as well. It can't be. I mean, the way things are going in here, I mean, they're going to drive us all to Mars or something. How are you going to escape this? How are you going to escape this stupidity?
I don't know. That's why I think a lot of people are kind of just, now what? I don't get it. I can't comprehend why any of this seems like a good idea. I'm trying to think like other people would, because I know my ways aren't always the right ways. Yours definitely never are. So I'm trying to figure it out, and it still just doesn't make any sense.
Nothing makes any sense anymore.
It doesn't.
It's absolutely incredulous to what's going on across this board, because this stuff keeps happening every day by the droves full on that.
You think they're trying to drive us like insane?
Yes, that's what it's doing. There's no more of what's...
When does Gavin's term end?
2022.
Crap.
Or
how's that recall going?
Yeah, unless we can get a successful recall going and get people... And I mean, I think that this whole thing on the schools, for one, I think it's opened a lot of people's eyes up to what's been going on in the schools, and plus it's turning a lot... People are now paying more attention since they're having to do the
no,
work
but
of the
the other
teachers.
day, my oldest, he's doing his work on his computer or his Chromebook, and he tells me, he's like, Mom, I don't even know how to read anymore. He's like, my mind is mush. He's like, I don't even know how to read. He's like, I need to go back to school because I don't know what's going on.
Yes, it's absolutely incredulous of what's going on. And we've got a story coming up on that.
It was heartbreaking to hear my son say that, and he was
that
like...
we're going to play here, that we're going to show you here in a second, because people are going stark raving mad over this.
And again, I think the teachers are doing an amazing job, and it is it is a lot harder to do it at home than in the classroom, for sure, especially with all the tech problems. Parents are frustrated, teachers are frustrated, but I am like this close to just saying, boop.
Number 4, please.
Yes, sir.
Students left behind by remote learning. Has the desire to keep coronavirus out of schools put children's long-term well-being at stake? By Alec McGillis in ProRepublica on that. Sherma, a 12-year-old from East Baltimore, is good at math. Karen Neguso, a 4th grade math teacher at Abbotston Elementary School, is one reason why. I would try to pump him up and tell him you're a good student. She said she knew that he didn't get enough sleep. He was often absent. His home situation, like those of her many students, was unstable. His mother suffered from a drug addiction, and they moved frequently. Negoso kept an eye on Shamar even after he started the 5th grade, which was when I met him in late 2018. And at First Franklin Presbyterian Church, a few blocks from the transitional housing where he and his mother were living, I volunteered to tutor Shamar. And once a week I picked him up from school and we do homework at a coffee shop. Shamar has remarkably good sense of direction, which came in handy when he had to catch multiple buses and the light rail to get to school from wherever home happened to be. He has a knack for impish one-liners, often prefaced by, "Can I just say something?" He is the only kid I've ever tutored who without fail stopped mid-text and ask about a word he doesn't recognize. Personification, alas, what is that? His own vocabulary is charmingly esoteric. He once said that his older sister bamboozled him into going to the store. Another time he asked why. His mother takes his subexone, which is like a subsexone, which is a drug every day at the clinic, but stability is elusive. Shamar often stayed up late watching TV, and when Shamar made it to school, he was often drowsy in class. But being around teachers and other kids revived him. I continued to see him when he entered the 6th grade, and on days when I picked him up, he was typically tearing around the jungle gym with friends with an unself-consciousness that, together with his slight frame, made him seem younger than 12. Sometimes he'd help his social studies teacher, a young woman in her first year on the job, straighten up her classroom. One day I arrived, Shamar, this is his middle name, looked disconsolate. He thrust a sheet of paper at me. The social studies teacher had quit. There was a tear running down Shamar's cheek. She was my favorite teacher. Going back to this whole thing, and it winds up, kids like Shamar, this was their only shot.
Right.
It's taken away from them. You just reiterated your experience with this whole thing the last 6 months.
1 hour of my day.
Yes.
Since March.
Of that. And
There's been tears, there's been anger, there's been frustration, there's been lazy days, there's been lying, there's been all kinds of things.
remote learning has been a disaster. And there's no let up in sight. And even when they're talking about opening up schools, there are bits and pieces and this and that. It's going to be
Grade levels, only a certain amount of students.
it's going to be like a prison. Even more so than what I called it when I was it. That's what I called it. I called it the 8 to 3 o'clock halfway house, where they, well, they're going to make that seem like a cakewalk. We've done that.
Thanks, Edward.
They've done that irreparably, and they're doing irreparable harm all across the board with that. And like they said, teachers, if you don't want to teach in school, we'll find somebody else that will.
Right.
We'll get rid of you administrators don't want to open them up. We'll get rid of you. Let's cut to the chase. Let's stop the madness. There is evidence we had it there in Florida and across the world where schools opened up. There's been no COVID outbreaks that have been anything that's been that required schools being shut down or anything else. It's been basically there may be 1 or 2 cases in the whole world where there was a little bit of outbreak. It went through, and who cares anyway? COVID's going to do what it's going to do. You might as well face the facts of what's going on. And this is where we're at.
But I don't even know. I want to open my own school. Can I open my own school?
We're looking into that.
That'd be fun. No, that wouldn't. That'd be hell. I don't want to do that. Well, maybe. I can't be a teacher.
Well, they should. I mean,
It's
they should take the $20,000 per K through 12 student in California and say
They should give every neighborhood one teacher, and that teacher in that neighborhood teaches all the grade levels. No?
like the old time schoolhouse when they're all in
In
you
one
just say,
little-
yeah, open
little
up the
thing.
quad and just have one big giant class.
Why not? I mean, that's kind of what we're going back to.
Well, no,
I
we're
don't-
not going back to that. We're going back to the days of slavery and no school system and nothing, where there was no schools.
Brandon writes in, because I asked the question, how do you feel about distance learning? For it or over it? He writes in, it's so over it. He's getting no sleep, about 4 hours a day, because then he has to go to work. And he feels that one child is doing okay and the other one is not learning anything.
It is. It's wasting
mean-
everybody's time. Sitting in them Zoom meetings and this and that.
It's so freaking stressful.
It
I
is.
have 4 kids, 4 different grade levels with
And they're just basically
8 to 10 different Zooms a day and trying to remember everyone. And then my kids sometimes are just over it. So they're like, yeah, I did all my work. And then I go and check and it's like, oh, well, I didn't know that was there. Yes, you did, Timmy. Get off the freaking Xbox. Get back on the... It's like, it's exhausting. And then they break down because they miss their friends.
That's why I say it's a total train wreck of epic proportions. And again, there is no reason for the schools. There was never. There is no reason today for the schools to be locked down, closed, or anything else. They're not operating normally, as they did before all this crap started.
Yeah, but then it's gonna start going around again, and then they're gonna say wave 833 or whatever the hell we're on this week.
It's going to
and then
do
it's
that.
gonna shut down again. Like,
30 seconds, guys. 30 seconds.
No Halloween, no Christmas, no Easter.
No SoCal Fair, that just got canceled.
Shut up! Screw it.
Oh.
Crap, I need that. Oh, well. I didn't need that
Hi,
one.
Stephanie.
Hi, Sean.
Oh,
I'm on
man.
it today.
Guys, here we go. 10 seconds.
KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air. The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed.
There's that funky slide guitar music. Comes on every Monday through Friday at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 KMET, broadcasting all across the Inland Empire on a
Thirsty Thursday!
Wow, you're
Thursdays are my favorite day of the week. I'm just kidding. Taco Tuesday is.
of that. If you could go out and get tacos, you can't go to your favorite taco stand like you used to. Walk up there.
There
and
was
order
no
some-
taco stand. What the hell are you talking about? Where was there? Oh, I didn't get us tacos the other day. I still don't know what place you're talking about. Maybe one day.
You only drive by it 900,432 times.
That would require me paying. I gotta focus, man. I mean, I can't even remember to turn my damn mic on every show. You expect me to know where a taco stand is? Want me to
Or
crash?
what a taco stand is.
Or taco place? I don't know. Whatever we're talking about. You know what I mean?
Did you
Anyway.
ever go to Taco Tia down there in Van Buren in the free? Well, they just tore it down.
Where? What?
Taco Tia?
No, but you know Casamoda?
Yeah.
Mom.
No, Taco Tia was that's what
Nah.
we would typically call a taco stand back in the day. And I was just recently by there, and I pulled off the freeway, and the old Taco Tia there at Van Buren the freeway, which is there ever since I can remember till the present, is no longer there. They leveled it out. They're building something else on it. That I don't know how long it's been closed, but yeah, that's what we used to call them, taco stands. The place where you go get tacos was.
Joshua writes in there's a Taco Tia in Redlands.
Well,
Tio's
maybe-
Tacos on Mission Boulevard with all the crazy like artwork. It's really cool. He takes like metal stuff and makes like in cans and makes like robots and things. It's really cool. I wonder if they're open.
Well, probably in some cases, but yeah, you just can't walk up there and order tacos or sit down and have
But
tacos.
I thought some places open though.
Well, yeah, you with
Like some restaurants.
yeah, some of them are back to 25% or some sort of ridiculous. That some of them got outside dining, which to me is.
I kind of like
great.
that though.
I
they
love
need to keep it.
outside. I would, but most people are. Oh, I gotta have my air conditioning. I'm gonna die.
Well, when it's really hot and your makeup starts dripping off your face, it's not cute. I keep telling you when to touch it up and you just never listen.
Yeah, oblivious to. Well, you can see my makeup. That's from the tree falling on my nose as I'm sawing down the branches. That's.
Josh writes in Mr. Taco is open. Where's Mr. Taco?
Yeah, where is Mr. Taco?
Casamoda in Riverside, though. It's good. My dad's still listening. Give me some tacos. I mean, chant your blades.
On that, we're gonna have Susan Shelley coming on in a minute. We'll get into the her column, which is on the theme park. So and we're gonna get to that of the 28,000, mostly that Disney just laid off, mostly in California, some in Florida, but the Florida park is open, but they're not open fully. But they're doing that 100% of that. But there are the vast majority of the 28,000 that Disney laid off are in Disneyland in Anaheim and the surrounding area, and Knott's and all that, because of this whole stupid stuff that's going on all across the board. And we're just, we're frying ourselves unnecessarily, like the COVID quotas and the reparations and everything else that are just absolutely stupid. You know, it's we are living in an insane world. And how else? I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's crazy of what in the hell is going on, of what's going on. But we're gonna discuss this. I want to get her thoughts first on the debate which went Tuesday night. But that's why I brought it up, because there are columns on the theme parks and opening up and all this other stuff going on. But we're going to bring on our next guest, which we've had on for many, many years. She's the editorial writer, columnist for the Press Enterprise, San Bernardino Sun, Inland Daily Bulletin, and most important, Redlands Daily Facts, and Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, Susan Shelley. Welcome to IE Newswire with Stephanie and Roy.
Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. To be with you. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
One thing, and I want to get your thoughts on the debate, but one of the things that struck me is about and there was the discussion about Antifa and the whole thing going on, and Joe Biden, and he said Antifa was just a thought or some ridiculous amount of thing of that. But this whole racial, and to tune into that, but the whole critical race theory, white fragility thing came up, and the question was asked at the debate by Chris Wallace. One of the legit questions they did, because Trump ended all the federal funding of all this madness, and it's been going through our schools and all this other stuff going on. And as soon as we can get to it, I want to play this short clip going on of that. When we're doing that, of that at the debate. And this is Trump. Chris Wallace is asking the question about this. Is the justice system fair to African Americans? You know, you're going to pick up on how this is framed, but here we go with the whole deal on this.
Directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory. Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody else. And he would know.
What is radical
totally
about racial sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas, and frankly, very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's
right there. And Biden says this doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's all made up. The whole question is all fantasy. Chris Wallace made it up. You know, what I wish I could do is talk to 10 people who watched this debate, and this was really their first look at Joe Biden and their first look at the presidential race. Everybody that I know is so interested in this and following it so closely for so long that they're not giving us a true reading on how people who are not into politics but still will vote, how they're reacting. I would love to talk to people who saw Joe Biden for the first time and get their impression. I suspect that he looked frail and weak and like he was putting all of his energy into thinking of what he was going to say. That's kind of how he looked to me. And I really wonder how that came across to people who haven't been following this closely. That first impression. So many people don't pay attention to the presidential race till after Labor Day. They watch the debate. They probably only watch one of the debates, and then their mind's made up. And I really would like to talk to people who don't follow politics to see what their reaction was. What do you think?
Yeah, I think and we had a talk with Cliff Cummings of Toyota San Bernardino. My take on it is, in this election, most people have made up their minds it's going to be on a turnout deal. But I would be those few that are. But what struck me then, and that's why I stopped at Joe Biden says this doesn't exist. Chris Wallace just said it did. He said Trump ended this madness, and not only hate your country, they're trying to get us to hate ourselves.
Right.
Yes.
And that's the bigger point on which I would have said. I've said it many times. I wish Trump would have said it. And they're trying to make us hate ourselves and hate each other. And we were paying. The United States government was paying this. And then hair gel, as we covered earlier, on top of that, he's putting a quota system on coronavirus because he says it's effective. You can't open your counties or your cities and counties if somewhere else, because minority affected communities might be more affected or some sort of nonsense. I mean, it's like we're just totally going insane.
It is insane. A lot of it is the political pressure, and some of these politicians, we don't see the stuff that they're refusing to do. They're getting these radical demands from all these groups that help them get elected. And what they do instead of implementing the radical policies is they put in stuff like this critical race thing. Yes, we'll have training and education on it. And then it goes in, and this is what it turns out to be. Radical, crazy, socialist nonsense. And this was like the compromise position to teach this stuff in the schools, to teach this stuff in special training of employees. This is what they do instead of implementing a full policy of reparations. Now they're doing a study in California. Your tax dollars are going to pay for a study of how to do reparations. Really? Really? Well, how about time travel? And we'll go back and we'll pay the people who actually were slaves. Let's do that. Let's see if Silicon Valley can invent something where you set the clock back to before 1865, and we'll pay reparations to everybody who was harmed by the actual policy, instead of trying to figure out in 2020 who's a descendant of someone who was harmed. It's just really a shakedown where people are trying to get the government to force some people to pay other people, and it varies depending on the day and the group and the politics, which group wants to be paid for what. Some people want to be paid for climate change. Oh, well, we have certain communities that are disproportionately affected by climate change. How do they figure? I don't understand this. You know, I was on a call with some city officials who were arguing that it's a good thing to force people to sell their house because they can't afford the taxes, because they'll move away from the coastal areas, and that will help mitigate sea level rise. And I'm trying to get my head around this. Okay, so they're selling the house to what? To sea lions? Who's buying the house? And how does this help? Raising the taxes on people so they're forced to sell their house that they've owned forever on the beach, and that opens it up for someone else to buy. And unless you sell it to a whale, how does it help us with sea level rise? I do not understand this thinking.
It's almost as bad.
It's 2020 thinking.
Yeah. It's like if you have to think stupid or some thought, it just comes in your mind and out your mouth in 2020. And I want to get to your column because it was the big news that broke on that. Disney, Knott's Berry Farm, Universal Studios, they've been asking, please let us open up. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has had at least partially the same theme parks we have opened up. There were a few of the 28 that were laid off at Disney, of the 28,000 in Florida, because they're not operating at full capacity. But the vast majority of them were at Disneyland in Anaheim on that, which has devastated their economy. And there's no end in sight of when they are going to open up. And there is no reason that theme parks or anything else should be closed down.
You're absolutely right. And they have opened in every other country. They're open in Shanghai and Tokyo and Paris. They're open in Ohio and Texas and Florida and Missouri. They're open everywhere in the world except California. Now, you tell me why that is.
Oh, well, because like I said, the diva hair gel governor is just on such a mad power trip right now. Just like with the like I said, he doubled down on the slavery thing, and now we got to have COVID quotas. If a small community in the 10 million vast residents of LA County have that, you can't open up, even though 98.7% of there could be no coronavirus cases in the rest of it. You can't open up because there's one little hot spot, and because it's maybe in a community that has a slightly darker skin tone than the rest of you.
And this is so irrational on its face that there has to be something else going on. What they're doing is they're looking for excuses to keep things closed. Now, why are they doing that? And I think the reason is because there are a lot of groups that have their list of demands. Some of them are labor unions, and they want to get into some of these non-union companies, and they want to have leverage to force these companies to sign a union contract. They want to get in. They want to be talking to the employees to persuade them to do a union vote. And how are they going to get into these non-union companies? So here comes this proposal in LA County for something called public health councils. Now, what are these? Well, on top of city regulation, county regulation, and state regulation, and all the health protocols that the government has put in, they want to have this sort of quasi-government unit that the employees set up for themselves. The employees can ask to have this happen, and groups affiliated with the unions will create this public health council to train the workers to report violations. And then once they report the violations to the public health council will tell the county, and the county will impose fines and penalties. And guess what? I'll bet you that all those fines and penalties will go away in a negotiated settlement where there's a union contract. I think that's the game.
The public employees, teachers union, public employees unions have been driving this whole thing, especially in California, but most of the states too, where they've had lockdowns on this. And I think if there is a light at the end of the tunnel on this, and I think especially with the schools, and we touched on it earlier, that I think a lot of parents and a lot of people that thought, yeah, their school was great, the kids were getting a great education, and now they're actually seeing what's happening with this distance learning and the disaster it's been. I think that's, like you talk about the first-time voters or voters that don't really pay attention, I think that's opening a lot of people's eyes on this whole thing on top of that. And I think that might be something, one of those, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. And I think maybe the public employees and teachers unions are overplaying their hand.
I think they are, and some of the companies that have always been extremely cooperative and nice and donating at the fundraisers with all of these government officials, they're really angry. They crossed some kind of a line with this, and they are really angry. Westfield, the giant mall company, filed a lawsuit against LA County for keeping the malls closed. And Disney and Knott's have been very vocal about how upset they are that this is not reopened. Disney actually blamed the state of California for the layoffs, which is, it doesn't seem like that's a big deal. That's a big deal. For a company like Disney to say something hostile about the California government is extremely unusual. They are very angry, and rightly so. Rightly so. People's lives are being destroyed. And some of this tourism, some of this will never come back, because what California is doing is scaring people to death for no reason. COVID is a danger, it's a risk, but it's not as bad as people thought at the beginning. It's not a contagious fatal disease that sweeps through a building like the Black Death. It's not like that. It's bad if you're medically fragile and vulnerable, but a lot of things are bad if you're medically fragile and vulnerable. And people who are in that situation should take every possible precaution. But you cannot shut down the entire healthy population to protect people who are medically vulnerable. You just have to protect the medically vulnerable. Does that make any sense? If we did this, if this was our standard for everything, we would have no economy, we would never leave our houses, and we would just sit around and watch public service announcements and propaganda from the health department saying, oh, there's danger, watch out. I mean, this is no way to run a county, a city, a state. This is crazy.
I think you made a very good point, and far too much, major business owners, California corporations, stuff have been running scared of this and not speaking up like Disney and many others in the whole deal on Prop 22 and everything else that's going on. They've been, oh well, we don't want to say anything because we don't want to upset the diva governor at the time or whomever on that. But now they're seeing, now that it's, their ox is getting gored per se. Maybe this is the impetus again. Maybe that's one of these little lights at the end of the tunnel. Maybe major companies and business owners will start standing up and, telling things like it is and start funding good candidates to run so they're not buried by the money of the teachers and prison guard unions and everything else.
That's exactly what it's going to take. And we might see that the recall becomes that vehicle. If the recall gets close to its signature target and a company like, well, geez, any of them, name a company, decides to put some money into getting it across the finish line and then campaigning for a candidate that they support who will undo some of these horrific policies, then you will see it change. But as long as these major companies are happy to fund the existing government and they just think, well, the crocodile will eat us last, guess what? The crocodile came for them, and the game is over. Or rather, the game is exposed for what it is, which is extremely liberal and leftist groups are using the power of government to try and confiscate the wealth and the earnings of people who work for a living. They are trying to confiscate it. They want to confiscate it through government, either through taxation or through union dues or any way they can get it. The socialists have come for us. And this is their big play. And if you go to their websites, they all have the same sort of message. Well, COVID, we can't go back to normal. This is the fundamental changing of our society. This is like the fourth or fifth time I've seen this same show. Barack Obama was going to be the fundamental change of American society. No. We're not giving up freedom. We're not giving up capitalism, which is the economic system of a free country. We're not giving up our rights because there's a virus. We're not giving up our rights because people are scared. We're not giving up our rights. Full stop. I don't know how many times we have to win the same war. I guess one more time.
It is, you got 30 seconds. Tell them why they should join Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association.
Oh, it's so important, especially this year. There's so much stuff on the ballot that is going to take your money. So be sure to register to vote. Go to hjta.org and get the ballot recommendations, see the endorsement list, get the information about some of these ballot measures. Vote no on 15, vote no on 19. These are so expensive if they pass. Be careful and vote no on these things. And join HJTA, the most influential group for taxpayer advocacy in California. hjta.org. Sign up for the email alerts.
You got it. Thanks a lot, Susan. We'll do it again next week.
Bye, Susan.
Thanks. Bye.
Why don't you get to this one last thing on that? And as Susan kind of mentioned, the Public Employees Union, Jason Hunter just won an ethics complaint in the city of Riverside against council member Gabby Placentia, who put a union label on her business cards as a city council member on that, and the ethics committee agreed with Jason Hunter's complaint that should not be on there, so that has been on, and maybe we'll have Jason on tomorrow to preview that. And there's another little vignette that's been coming out on this. City manager Tom DeSantis all of a sudden was gone about 3 or 4 months ago, and it was he fired? Did he retire? The question has been there because it was brought out. And here's the story. Well, we mentioned it in that, but the story broke on the Beacon, which is a project of the University of Southern California Journalism School, and they're asking these questions of why did he get $600,000, or it appears that he got $600,000. If he retired, how and why did he get that kind of money? Was he fired? Was he let go with cause? What was the reaction? Nobody in the city, and if you go read the article, which we have the aforementioned link on there that we're showing you right now, that you start getting a frog in your throat at this time. But no, I think it's Myra Wu wrote this piece on that as an asking the questions yesterday of that. Tom DeSantis and her declined to comment. City officials declined to comment. They're asking the question of how did he retire? If he retired, why is he getting a $600,000 deal? And why is he still allegedly on the payroll if he retired? It's very intriguing questions of what may be going on in Moreno Valley on that. So maybe we'll have Jason on tomorrow to update us on a couple of these stories because he's been following both of them very closely.
Right.
He's actually quoted in the piece by Myra Wu on that asking the questions of it. So it's going to be very interesting to see what goes on, what transpires. The ethics complaint against Councilwoman Placentia automatically, I think, gets appealed to the Riverside City Council, so we'll see what they do with it or if they reverse it. But I agree, if you're going to put the union label or anything, what are you going to put on next? Casamoto's taco stand, if you want to put it on your city business card of that. I mean, are you selling this or what? It's... And as Jason Hunter said, that they were arguing, or I think the city attorney, if I recall correctly, but he'll frame it, it was legal to do that. Well, that's fine, but that's not what it was. Is it ethical to do these things? Because then what if you want to put, Javier's Towing Company on your city, and is that a quasi endorsement of the city because it's on the city council member's business card? You're crossing that line of showing favoritism to whatever group that you want. And
Joshua goes back and says that Mr. Taco is very good and has good vibes as well. So we got to try Mr. Taco. Stop talking about food, Josh. You're making me hungry.
Where's Mr. Taco at?
He said Redlands and Beaumont.
Okay.
It's in the comments. I'll have to go back. And Carlos is saying that Trump is a racist.
We'll get into that. You got to be kidding.
I'm just reading the comments. You should read them. They're entertaining. Everybody this day and age is racist.
Yes.
I mean, let's just say it, throw it out there,
it's just
and move on.
We're all racist. We're all
I think the more it gets talked about, the more racism happens.
Yes.
So
I mean, that's the mantra.
Get off my mouth. Get off my mouth.
There's that music that's going out. Yeah, that's par for the course.
I was a couple seconds late.
We'll be back tomorrow on Fast Friday, both on IE Newswire on
Tomorrow's
Facebook.
already Friday!
And on that, and KMET at 5:30. So until then, we're gone.
The proceedings